great points and, you know, very focused insights that you shared with us. Thank you. And I'm sure that Rich is going to share with us how we can get $150 million to every community. So, so moving on to, you know, segue what you said about awareness and other things. I think that whenever any transformation occurs in the society, the NGOs and nonprofit organizations play a very, very critical role. So we are very honored to have Andrew with us, leading the Moonshot missions. So the question is, the Moonshot missions has been working with water leaders, professionals, and engineers for a very long time. For utility management, governance, community engagement, engineering operations, and finance, even the finance. You got to get us $150 million. Working also with Jersey Water Works, you and your team have been helping communities attain clean water. Please share your recent accomplishments and vision on working together collaboratively with communities for PFAS decontamination.
Well, thank you. First of all, many thanks to our legislators for their leadership in what they're doing to try to protect New Jerseyans. So, applause for them. And thanks to NJIT and you, Dr. Dewan, for your leadership in pulling all this together and trying to address this issue. And to each of you who are doing and trying to make a difference every day in trying to address this significant problem. At Moonshot Missions and also Jersey Water Works, we are committed to the notion every person, every household, every community is entitled to safe drinking water and clean waterways at an affordable rate. And so we're working on all kinds of things, you know, PFAS, microplastics, PCBs, wastewater treatment issues, et cetera. Of course, I'll focus on PFAS. I also, before working at Moonshot, I worked here worked in Camden, New Jersey for many years as the head of the wastewater utility there. So I'm very familiar with the challenges that our water utilities face. Jersey Water Works is very concerned about the safe drinking water and clean waterways and very concerned with the PFAS issue. And in fact, we just formed a new PFAS committee. So Jersey Water Works is a voluntary collective of industry, regulators, public sector utilities, educational institutions, and nonprofits, all committed to trying to work together to find the common ground to protect New Jerseyans and the environment and provide safe drinking water, clean waterways at an affordable rate. We basically have a seven-pronged plan, and you've heard much of it from the other people who have already spoken. But basically, it starts, there's basically three main steps. It's, you know, prevention, remediation, and treatment. And so with regard to prevention, we absolutely need, you know, continuing legislation. The legislation that's already been done, but it's going to continue to grow. It's going to be needed because we're finding more and more chemicals. What we know today is less than what we'll know in a few years, as we've already seen from what's already happened. So legislation is really critical. Also, there is a sort of virtuous cycle, and I think Katie Angeron earlier mentioned it. The steps that are taken to prevent PFAS will also have some kind of virtuous effect on microplastics and PCBs, as well as regular, you know, pollutants. So prevention from a regulatory standpoint is really critical, and consumer education. With regard to treatment, it's really critical that, again, as a former wastewater treatment plant manager, it's critical that our wastewater utilities and our drinking water utilities do their utmost to treat these systems. And of course, the problem. But it's really critical. The drinking water utilities, wastewater utilities are receiving these. They're not generating the chemicals. So it's really critical that there be funding available for the wastewater treatment and drinking water utilities to treat this. It's very expensive. You've heard about $150 million for just one community in New Jersey. And of course, it's ubiquitous. Every city has it, as our mayor just indicated. And so it's just critical that there be funding. We're lucky here in New Jersey to have the New Jersey Infrastructure Bank, which offers low interest loans, 1% or less, 30 to 40-year payback periods. So that even though it's not a grant, it still is a very low interest rate at a long payback period, which has the effect of, against normal funding, like a 25 to 30% grant in a sense, because the debt service is reduced because of the lower interest and the longer payback periods. When I worked in Camden, almost everything we did was funded through the New Jersey Infrastructure Bank, and it enabled us to upgrade our entire wastewater treatment system without raising rates because of the low interest rates and the long payback periods. Each of the 50 states has a program like that. We're lucky in New Jersey, and my friend, I'll mention David Zimmer, who's been the head of it for many years, has been leading this initiative to get funding out to New Jerseyans, New Jersey utilities. But it's really essential that that support continue to be available. There was a report just 2 days ago that I saw from the Water Environment Federation that the current budget for EPA proposes 90% reductions to the state revolving fund program. That would be disastrous for New Jersey wastewater and drinking water utilities, as well as all the other 49 states as well. So to the extent that our federal legislators and those who have impact and contact with them to lobby for funding for EPA and continued funding for the state revolving funds. Just as a quick aside, the federal grant program, it was a federal grant program when the Clean Water Act was created back in 1972. I'm dating myself, but I remember that grant program. But it was converted into a low interest loan program in 1987, and very, very effective. But it needs to continue. And in fact, we need more funding for it, and certainly not less. In addition, the other thing that drinking water, especially wastewater utilities, can do is increased industrial pretreatment. And that's something that I'm hoping to work with our friends in New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection to encourage. Having, again, worked at a wastewater utility before, I know that the industrial pretreatment standards can be a little lax. They don't necessarily require unannounced visits. They could be like an announced visit every year. So it's critical to have unannounced visits and more frequently, especially at industries that can, generate PFAS or other, harmful industrial chemicals, because wastewater treatment plants cannot do anything with inorganic chemicals. They only treat, organic chemicals, basically what comes from human waste. Inorganic chemicals that are produced in industries like PFAS and others go completely untreated through the wastewater system. So the critical line of defense is industrial pretreatment at the source, making sure that they prevent those chemicals from even getting into the system. That is so critical, and it's definitely an understated, underestimated opportunity. Lastly, and this has already been addressed as well, but remediation from what's already there, in addition to our aquifer sources and getting cleanup from, again, a polluter pay approach wherever possible, but also contaminated sites, especially orphan sites, like where old industry was present. No one's there now, but stormwater runoff gets those contaminated sites, the groundwater, right into the stormwater system or a combined sewer system and right into our water cycle. So basically, all of these things are needed. All collectively, it's going to take a village and a complete sector or many sectors to work together to address these issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your experience and insights. Greatly appreciate it. So now we come to the industry sector, and one of the global large industries, Veolia, and I had the honor of working with Veolia for over 3 years now, and they have been very instrumental and great partner in establishing the Partnership Innovation Consortium. So, Jim, and thank you for being over here. And the question is just for a little bit of kind of intro to many of other people in the audience about Veolia. North America treats more than 2.2 billion gallons of water daily. Impressive. Serving millions of people through municipal contracts and industry partnerships for more than 550 communities at 100+ industrial facilities. Please share with us your vision in supporting engineering research and the technology innovation translation for regulated water utility system, ensuring compliance with the strict environmental standard for water quality.
Thank you. And again, Kendra sends her regrets. She really wanted to be here this morning. Before I lead off, I would just add to Andy's comments regarding Jersey Waterworks and Veolia's alignment with that mission. And it's a great organization. For a water utility, innovation matters most when it can translate to complex water challenges and the practical solutions to meet the customer needs. In a regulated water business, we have the responsibility to not only meet increasing stringent standards, but also do it in a way that makes sure there's reliability in the service, strengthening our infrastructure for the long term, and also managing affordability for our customers. It's a critical challenge, is affordability when we're meeting all of these challenges. We're making significant investments in PFAS across the country and other water quality challenges as well. And we have to balance those investments with all the other infrastructure work that we hear about and read about in the newspapers every day. The collaboration with, we're making significant investments that will support this collaboration. The best outcomes are when utilities, regulators, researchers, and technology providers work together early, share, and focus pragmatic solutions that are protective, achievable, and mindful of the customer impact. As standards continue, evolve, and this kind of collaboration will be essential in making progress in a way that protects both public health and long-term affordability. Again, we're at a nexus right now, a convergence with lead, PFAS, infrastructure replacement, and many, many other demands. And they all have to be addressed at the same time. We have to be forward-looking, future-proof, and also protect public health, as well as protect the customer's pocketbook.
Thank you. So continuing the industry stakeholder sector, we already heard a little bit about the ResinTech tremendous and impressive growth over the years. And ResinTech, as a global leader in manufacturing ion exchange resin and water treatment media, they specialize in purification, softening, metal removal, and pollution control. So a question to Larry is that, please share your vision and thoughts on how industry and businesses are responding to the critical need of implementing innovative technology solutions in drinking water and wastewater treatment for PFAS decontamination and management. What are the challenges and limiting factors that you see in achieving water purification goals?
Hello, everybody. How do you follow up such an esteemed panel of such experienced and intelligent people? So I want to talk a little bit about the industrial manufacturing side. ResinTech's been making ion exchange resin, specialty medias, activated carbons, complementary to reverse osmosis industry for 40 years. And what we found out is that we have been removing PFAS all along. We just never knew it, and we never looked at it. It wasn't really until EPA came out and set an MCL that it really became, it turned into a research and development project into, a crisis. And so before the EPA's MCL, every state had their regulations. Some of them were even way higher than what they are. Some were combinations. It was a very difficult landscape. And what I'm here to tell you is that PFAS is in every water problem. It is not a well water. It is not a wastewater. It's not a groundwater. It's in every water problem. I live in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. The very first water that I tested on LCMS was the water in my house. I had roughly 17 PPT of 3 different compounds coming out of the faucet of my house for the last 50 years, me and 75,000 of my neighbors. And who knew it? So as we put products in and around, and we don't make systems, we make resins that go into systems. The systems are designed and installed by third parties, but we help them with the design. They send us the water analysis. We tell them how to achieve the best results with our products. But as we put systems around New Jersey, arsenic's naturally occurring, uranium's naturally occurring, nitrates, tannins, taste, and odor, all of these systems that people already have in the house, we didn't know it, we didn't look at it, but they're all selective for and removing PFAS. The technology works. It's not rocket science. It just simply happens. And it's scalable. So these projects, these processes are scalable from point of use at a water fountain or a sink to point of entry where it comes into your home or your place of business, to municipal treatment system, to wastewater end of pipe systems. The question is how do we apply it in a way that makes sense, that's cost effective? Monitoring and testing for PFAS, very difficult. The real challenge, at least for ion exchange, is it's a technology of concentration. You know, it's 1,000,000 to 1 concentration. You take 1,000,000 gallons of water, you put it on a gallon of resin. So now instead of 1,000,000 gallons of water with a little tiny bit of PFAS, you have a lot of PFAS on a small amount of resin. What do you do with it? Do you dispose it? Do you destroy it? That to me is the real future challenge. I'd spent a lot of my time in the Water Quality Association, the Water Quality Research Foundation. We just did a study with Dr. George Zhu of Purdue University. This is where academia comes in, who looked at spent filters, RO membranes, carbon filters, resin filters, and how they are affected, how they leach or retain PFAS in a simulated landfill environment. From a waste treatment perspective, TCLP was the method that we used to go to determine what happened if you threw something in the trash. How did it affect in the landfill? We do not have that test yet for landfill for PFAS. You can tell so much about a society by what we throw away. PFOA and PFOS were the single biggest contaminant in landfill leachate, as per my friends at Waste Management, until it was outlawed. And it was outlawed and those concentrations came down. They were replaced. We as a society replaced them by other fluorine carbon compounds because they're useful to us. They resist oil and grease. They resist heat. We have a lot of use for these things in our society. So until our society becomes less reliant on fluorinated compounds, they're going to continue to exist. These 15,000 compounds we were talking about, it's because when we find one we don't like, we replace it with another one. I'm in a similar boat. We built a brand new factory in Camden, New Jersey in 2019. Part of what we make is heavy industrial chemical. It's a fire foam suppression system. I bought it brand new. Spent millions of dollars on it. In 2019, I have to tear it out and revamp it and get rid of all of my firefighting foam. God forbid there's a fire at my facility, but it's kind of brand new to me. So it's millions of dollars of cost to industry as well, but it needs to be done. I had one more thing. Listen, Rob Ballot, who was really one of the major legal players in the industry here, who helped really bust this thing open. I got a chance to meet him, and what he said to me was interesting. That every molecule of these compounds, you can identify the specific factory where they were made. Southern New Jersey, Boston. So am I still on? Yeah. So listen, PFNA is a big problem in Southern New Jersey because there was a factory that used it and made it. In Camden County, it's all over the place. And last thing from a manufacturing perspective, we monitor our wastewater that goes down to the CCMUA for PFAS. We've been doing it for years, since I brought it on site. And what I'm finding is that we actually put less PFOA, PFOS compounds down the drain than come in from our water supply, because we make technologies that remove them. So there's an additional cost for me as well to have to put in pretreatment to remove them from my manufacturing water so that they don't contaminate my own compounds, my own. So I'm looking forward to continuing the conversation. Really couldn't be happier to be here amongst this esteemed panel and all of you who play a super important role in developing what we're doing next. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So before I ask the next question, I would like to invite every one of you to use the second QR code for asking the question to our leaders here. And Sean is going to reconcile and ask a few questions. But by the time they are typing in the question, I'm going to rephrase my question for the second round, because it's very clear all of you have already said that in order to address this particular problem, we need industry, university, government, and community leaders all working together. The question comes in there, it's well said, but implementation of that and sustaining that partnership with the proper infrastructure support, encouragement from all the top leaders in the legislature, but also providing the funding and the support so that it is translated and that particular partnership makes a tangible impact in the society. What are your vision, if you want to share it, that how do you see what should be the expectations from such partnerships and how they should be sustained? Anyway.
Well, I'll take a first shot at that.
Yeah.
It's really critical to make sure that we don't get into silos. So we have, Jersey Water Works, we have this, committee that tries to get, legislators, regulators, water utilities, industry, et cetera, all together to collectively try to address this. Katie talked about the New Jersey initiative. You guys are doing this. The key is to try to coalesce that as much as possible. And so I think that's really critical. Funding is really critical. I mean, the one good thing is that solutions are known, but they're expensive. So I wouldn't say it's simple, but the solutions are known. Doesn't require undiscovered technology, at least to a point. The question is political will and funding to make sure that it gets to every community, every household. And last thing I'll say real quick is putting on my environmental justice hat. I volunteer in New Jersey's Environmental Justice Council. It's really critical that every community, including low-income communities like Camden, where I used to work, and other low-income communities across the state and the country, have the benefit of what's invented and what's funded, because those low-income communities don't always have that. We want to make sure that every household is protected and safe from these chemicals. Thank you.
Yeah, please.
I'll go. I'm going to take off on what you said about political will and combine it with funding. We're very lucky here in New Jersey. We're in this room, at least we're all on the same page. We want to eliminate harmful contaminants from our drinking water and products. And you heard the example in Ridgewood where you had a mayor who felt committed to spending the money to make sure, and of course, thanks to Rich, to make sure that the residents in his community had clean drinking water. But we need this action for the entire country. The water doesn't stop at the border. It flows from state to state. So if we don't have the proper regulation, the proper funding, and the political will throughout the country, it's going to work well in New Jersey, but it's not going to be enough, and we're always going to be playing catch up.
Yeah. Please.
Of course, I agree with what we've heard so far. I think there are so many needs here in New Jersey and needs in other states. I'm really glad to hear that the DEP is communicating so much with the other states. And I was just saying to the Assemblywoman that I think we need to look even more closely at what other states are doing. As legislators, we need to hear from all industry and all of you what the needs are, because when we do legislation, we want it to be something that's practical, and we need to hear from all of you, hopefully in some organized way, rather than an individual call here and there. So I think groups like this, and your group, Adam, and others here at NJIT can be a great resource to us, because we don't want to do useless legislation. We want to do good legislation. And as many people here have said, the public is not that up on this issue. They're not going to call us with ideas. So we need to hear from the experts, many of whom are in this room, and then we can do bills that will meet the needs. So all of you, as Senator Smith says, keep the cards and letters coming so we can understand what we need to do.
So I would like to pitch in over here for a little PR. This is exactly why after the last PFAS summit last year, and that you attended there, we established with 4 universities, Rutgers, Princeton, NJIT, and Stevens, and 5th one, Montclair, would be joining pretty soon, and 15 companies, including Veolia, Langen, Batal, Jersey Water Works, Ridgewood Water, and several others, 15 companies, to put together this partnership innovation consortium. And if you go to the website, one of the thing is to have enough voice and advocacy and the data and the statistics to be provided, not only the community, but also the legislative leaders, so that all of us can put our heads together about the next step, whether they are the new regulatory policies, the bills, or they are the resources that we need to test and validate the innovative solution coming from the research and innovation engines, whether they are coming from a small industry or they are coming from academia. But it takes a long roadmap of resources, partnerships, and the voices to be heard, as you said. And so the platform is NJPFAS-PIC at this particular time. So please join us, become a member. Please post your data, your resources, and make it stronger so that it is one-stop source for all of us to be referred to consult it, and to make our voices and resources stronger.